Real quickly before we begin, I want to thank this video's sponsor, CarMarshal.com. CarMarshal.com can save you lots of money on buying used or new vehicles, cars, trucks, school buses. If you want to save money, I'll have a link in the description down below. I know I'm going to...
Exclusive, Whistleblower Exposes officers laughing as inmates eat feces, are beaten and killed. A former inmate has made a mini-documentary in an attempt to expose the ongoing corruption within a jail that has failed to hold its staff accountable for torturing and murdering inmates. By Jack Burns, May 5, 2018. The former inmate and whistleblower who has openly shared his account of his horrific experiences during the time he served in Florida's Charlotte County Jail, has made a mini-documentary in an attempt to further expose patterns of rampant corruption within the jail, and the dangers it poses for inmates. Rob Tygros and Rodney McGee initially spoke out in an exclusive interview with the Free Thought Project in June 2017 after they began documenting the ongoing misconduct in the jail's medical wing. McGee said he witnessed the death of inmate Thomas Andreessen, a penhandler, who had been complaining of chest pains. McGee said Andreessen was tossed, pepper sprayed, and placed into a restraint chair until he died. Even though he was in the medical wing, he received no medical treatment, but worse still, McGee claimed that the very officers who were supposed to help the inmate actually killed him. Tygros said he was forced to clean up the bloody aftermath after he watched officers torture an inmate to death in August 2015. Greg Ireland, 47, was arrested for driving while intoxicated with a blood alcohol content that was nearly 3 times the legal limit. He was booked in Charlotte County Jail's medical wing, where the staff failed to give him the potassium supplement he was prescribed, or any detox medications to help him with alcohol withdrawals. Instead, Tygros claimed that officers tossed, beat, and pepper-sprayed Ireland to death. According to a report from Wink News, over the course of an hour, Ireland was tossed a total of 9 times and restrained by several deputies. When they realized he was not responding or breathing, they started CPR and eventually transported him to the hospital. Tygros said he was forced to clean up the bloody scene from Ireland's encounter with officers. Now he has made a mini-documentary to bring attention to the way Sheriff William Prummell handles criminal complaints of his deputies and corrections officers. The beginning of the video shows Prummell giving a press conference at CCSO headquarters. The sheriff was attempting to explain how one of his officers forced an inmate to eat feces and was subsequently fired. The inmate, 57-year-old Mark Kapuscinski, was serving time for drug charges and has a history of mental illness. You can clearly see there was fecal matter on his hand. He presented it to the person standing at the window and that he put it on his face, Sheriff Prummell said at the time. The sheriff said the officer Michael Burnett also failed to report the strange incident. Video would later surface showing Burnett laughing as the man ingests his own bodily waste. The overarching controversy detailed in the video below involves that case as well as deaths in the medical wing of the jail, the cover-up, and rampant corruption throughout the department. To date, no officer has been arrested or charged with any crime associated with the deaths of Andreessen and Ireland, despite a consensus by inmates housed in the medical wing who collectively believe the 2 men were murdered. Tygros told the Free Thought Project that he believes the crimes and the illegal activities the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office are engaged in, are being covered up by a law enforcement agency which, predictably, investigates itself and finds no wrongdoing. Following TFTP's publication of the 2 former inmates going public with alleged abuses and murders, the story made mainstream media headlines in Charlotte County. Tygros was later interviewed by Lauren Sweeney with Wink News, who further investigated the deaths of inmates while in custody. For her story, first reported on TFTP, Sweeney was awarded first place by Florida's Associated Press. Tygros's purpose for coming forward was not so that a journalist could be awarded for her story but, rather, to raise awareness about the practice of abusing and killing inmates in the medical wing of the jail. Already, too many inmates have died at the hands of sociopath corrections officers, who not only allegedly killed inmates but were allowed to keep their jobs thereafter. Ty Grost's video details the climate where officers appear more as terrorists dressed all in black with their faces covered resembling Mexican mafia members than officers of the peace. Every state in the Union should follow the law as implemented in the state of Wisconsin. There, thanks to the vigilant actions of Michael Bell, state law now mandates that any time there is an officer-involved incident that leads to the death of someone in custody, an outside agency must take the lead in the investigation. The days where a law enforcement agency can investigate itself and find no wrongdoing need to come to an end. There is simply no justice when police can exonerate themselves.
Welcome to the Charlotte County Jail. This video is designed to give you basic information to help you adjust during your stay.
I want you to go to the back of the cell, do it now! Get to the back of the cell!
That we've investigated here in the Sheriff's Office. We received a complaint in reference to the treatment of one of our inmates that was here from DOC on a competency hearing. The complaint came in and it had no specific officer named or deputy named in the allegation. So what we did is we started an administrative inquiry to do some fact-finding into what was going on. Some of the allegations we were able to quickly address with regards to the inmate being forced to be nude. He wasn't forced to be nude, but basically he was put in what's called a suicide suit. It's a thick, heavy garment that's draped over their person that they can't use to hurt themselves. So the normal garment that they're given when they're brought into the jail is taken from them and they're put in this protective garment. As for the light fixtures that they talked about, well, at night when the lights are dimmed down in the other housing pods like they were in the, we couldn't do that in the infirmary because then we could not see with the cameras, and those on direct opt, we have to be able to view what they're doing. We have to be able to watch them because they're on direct opt for a reason. Also, we found there was an allegation with regards to the video visitation. Well, as everybody knows, we had recently changed our video visitation. And when the camera was set up in the portable unit, now we have a portable unit in certain housing pods where the inmates are not taken out of their cells and brought into the normal housing pod. So we wheel this to their cell. And what we found afterwards is when the new camera was installed, it was installed on a slight angle. So that angle basically faced the door lock and not the opening in the door where you can have that face-to-face visit. So that was also addressed. So we were able to quickly put those to rest, address those, and fix what we needed to. Actually, we were able to also do some adjustments to the cameras now where we're able to dim the lights, and still the cameras will be able to pick up what's going on within the cells. Now, the more serious allegation of the inmate being forced to eat his own feces, after we reviewed some video, we had some concerns and we identified a potential subject officer. So at that time, the administrative inquiry was stopped because we had an identified deputy, and my chief deputy, Colonel Tom Rogers, made the decision to have our major crimes unit look into it for any potential criminal abuse of a mentally ill person. So our major crimes unit picked it up, they looked into it, they did some interviews, they went through the statutes, and they didn't find where a criminal statute met. So their case was then concluded, and then it was turned back over to the administrative, and an internal affairs investigation was opened up with the subject officer being that of Michael Burnett. And what we saw through video is that the inmate was brought into the housing pod, he was brought to his cell, he was standing there talking to deputies, receiving instructions of the pod. He was relatively calm, and then the door had closed, so he became irritated. We have conflicting stories of what was said or how it was said to really know what set him off. But what he did at that point is he went to the back of the cell where the toilet is, he dropped his pants, and you could see him take his hand and wipe his buttocks, and then he brings it to his face. There was nothing on his hand at that time that we can see. He's making some motions outside the cell, And then he goes back, he drops his pants again, and he wipes, and we can clearly see that there was fecal matter on his hand, and he presented it to the person standing at the window, and then he put it on his face. We matched up the cameras from inside the cell to the cameras outside the cell, and that's when we saw that Michael Burnett was the only deputy who was standing at that cell at the time, and at the exact second that he was doing this, Michael Burnett was looking in that window, and then it clearly showed him walking away from the cell, laughing. That is not tolerated here. As I told him during his pre-disciplinary hearing, the inmate population is solely here for our care, custody, and control.
When inmates at the Charlotte County Jail get unruly or out of control, the jail turns to a special team for help. And as SNN local news reporter Tom Lloyd shows us, this group means business.
Lena, the Corrections Emergency Response Team, or CERT, trained twice a month to handle any possibility of inmates getting out of control.
It is a show of force.
Charlotte County Sheriff Corrections turned to their CERT team when an inmate gets out of hand.
CERT is the same thing as SWAT, but we work inside the corrections facility instead of out on the streets. We do utilize SWAT and ERT teams as assistants in our facility for riot situations and other large focus missions.
Captain Norman Wilson is the CERT team commander. Wilson says the team goes through rigorous training twice a month. The team hones their skills by practicing extraction techniques multiple times.
You either love it or you don't. I mean, it's something that you're either meant to do or you just fizzle out, you can't take it.
The team practices several types of scenarios, from a cell extraction to carrying an inmate out with the use of restraints.
What's scared? Too scared. Are you scared? Or scared?
Supposed to be a weekend in jail, but it ended with a funeral. Greg Ireland was in the medical wing of the Charlotte County Jail to detox from alcohol. He ended up being tased 9 times by deputies. All new tonight at 11, investigative reporter Lauren Sweeney explores potential mistakes by the jail's medical staff leading up to his death.
There was a lot of blood and all over the place. It wasn't natural causes.
A scene inside Charlotte County Jail's medical wing in August 2015 isn't one Robert Trigo is likely to forget.
It was a pretty messed up scene.
Trigo was an inmate at the time. He says he was called in to clean up after the incident that led up to the death of Greg Ireland, a 47-year-old arrested for DUI.
He's more of crying out in pain and flailing, trying to stop it, I imagine.
Hospital records show Ireland had a blood alcohol content nearly 4 times the legal limit and a disorder called hypokalemia, a potassium deficiency common in alcoholics. He was sent to the jail medical facility for monitoring with a prescription to treat it.
Did he get medication?
Not that I recall.
Records show a doctor knew about a potassium supplement he was supposed to take, but he never got it. And medical staff never attempted to put him on drugs to help with alcohol withdrawal until after deputies restrained and tased him.
There is nothing that is ran in that part of the jail like it's supposed to run.
Corizon is the medical contractor for the jail. In their guidelines, it says Valium is supposed to be given to inmates like Ireland if they start to show signs of withdrawal, like tremors. A deputy describes Ireland's demeanor moments before he claims Ireland became aggressive.
His movements seemed a little jittery. When he looked at me, he appeared to be very wide-eyed, and he was sweating quite a bit. The anxious movement, the sweating, things like that are you often see with detoxing.
But it was 12 minutes after this first encounter that nurses tried to reach a doctor to get Valium. That doctor didn't answer 4 phone calls, and by the time they got another doctor on the phone, it was too late.
It's over. Nothing we can do about it, but I think we might learn something from it.
Now, Greg Ireland's father is suing the doctor, nurses, and Corizon, along with the sheriff and deputies involved.
You know, I don't think there's any one person to blame. The system is somehow broken because it didn't take care of, all right, the person who was intoxicated needs some help.
No one named in the suit has responded to it yet, and there were no criminal charges or policy violations to come out of this incident. But after a 2013 inmate death, the sheriff's office did change how it checks on inmates in restraints. I reached out to everyone, but no one would comment except Corizon. They gave us a statement explaining that their staff follows standards that are recognized by the medical profession and the courts as the benchmark for care at prisons and jails. Lauren Sweeney, Wink News, now.
And not for our entertainment. So he was dealt with, he's been fired. Now I know there's some confusion with regards to investigations. When you're dealing with an administrative investigation and a criminal investigation, they're two different things. And what we try and do is a criminal investigation will take precedence over the administrative. We try and run the criminal investigation first. Because an administrative investigation, there are laws that are outlined in statute that must be followed. And if they're not followed, the agency or the investigator who is running that administrative investigation, if they don't follow those rules to the T, they can be held liable, and they can also have charges brought up against them and their ticket potentially taken from them. So we have to follow that administrative investigation to the T. And the unions have pushed where it's very different from a criminal investigation. It basically outlines how we have to do an administrative investigation. And then the difference between an administrative and a criminal investigation, when you're dealing with the subject officer, you can bring them in under a criminal investigation, you read them their Miranda rights, and they have the opportunity to talk to you or exercise their right and not talk to you. In an administrative investigation, they're required to talk to the investigating officer, but under administrative, and that interview cannot be used in the criminal.
Today's date is Monday, August 24th, 2015. The time is now 1:28 p.m. I'm Detective Coleman with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. Also present is Detective Girl, also with the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. This interview will be in reference to an incident that occurred at the Charlotte County Jail. The interview will be taking place at the Charlotte County Jail. Information that I just read correct?
Yes.
Okay. For the purpose of the tape statement, can you please state your full name and your date of birth? Is there anything that would impair you from giving this statement?
No.
Okay. All right. As a law enforcer, actually, you know what the meaning of perjury is?
It means you're lying.
Perjury can be committed in two ways. One, by telling an outright lie, or two, by telling something that's not true or misleading my investigation. Okay. You understand what I'm telling you about perjury? Perjury is a crime in the state of Florida. Any person found to commit perjury can be charged under Florida state statute.
Okay, I understand.
You understand that? Okay. With that being said, as a law enforcement officer in the state of Florida, I'm empowered to swear you in for the purpose of giving this statement. Will you allow me to do so?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the statement you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can go ahead and put your hand down. Earlier today, there was an incident.
It was around 4.
Was it 4 this morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember getting up and looking at the clock and it said like 4:20.
Earlier you had advised me that you were woken up by the incident. Do you know who was involved in the incident? Do you know the name of the cellmate next door here?
No, sir.
Okay. Had you ever seen the person before?
No, sir.
Did you see him this morning?
Sir.
You never saw anything?
Never saw him at all.
Okay. All right. Well, tell me what you heard this morning.
And on the window, you're going to wake everybody up.
Okay. Do you know which cell this occurred at?
The one to the left of me.
Okay. Right, so right next door?
Right next door.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And then I heard, like I said, a whipping noise. I don't know what it was. And then I heard one of the correction officers say, you need to get on your back. So you're going to handcuff you. You need to get on your back. You need to handcuff you. And he said, I can't get on my back for some reason. I don't know why. And then I heard the tasers go off. I heard the tasers go off. And then I heard him say, turn over on your back. And the correction officer said, turn over on your back. And he says, I can't. I just got tased. I can't. I just got tased. Turn over on your back. And then I heard a big banging sound, like maybe like up against, you know, this wall here.
Okay, so you heard a thud against the wall?
A thud against the wall. And then or on the floor. It could have been the floor also. I heard like
Heard a thud.
yeah, a couple of them, 3 or 4 bangs against the wall, against the floor. I mean, it was constant banging on next door.
Okay.
And I was too scared because this whole pod is horrible. I mean, it scares the heck out of me. It scares me to death every night, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And anyway,
Take a minute, okay? Catch your breath. It's okay, I understand.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm not on any antidepressants yet.
It's okay, take your time. As much time as you need. Got some water up here too. So.
Yeah, actually it's Kool-Aid.
Really?
From lunch. And I heard a lot of banging next door, and I don't want to see bad things, you know, so I didn't get up until after I heard the night nurse, Miss Betty, or Miss Patty, I think her name is. She was really nice. I like Miss Patty. She does her job really good. And Miss Patty, I heard her say, someone needs to call 911, call 911. And I always have my head over the covers at all nights because of the light.
Okay.
Is always on. It never goes off. So my head's under the covers at all times. I don't want to look at anything bad, disgusting. It grosses me out. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like needles. I don't like nothing like that, you know?
Okay. So you hear Miss Patty say someone call 911, then what?
And then I heard the EMTs come in. I heard the stretcher. And I didn't get up. I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to hear anything. I don't want to see anything because I just don't want to see it. You know what I mean? Because I just don't want to see it.
Okay, that's
And
understandable.
And so I remember Miss Betty saying, somebody needs to call 911. Just call 911. Call 911 now. I heard her say that 3 or 4 times. And I heard the stretchers come out, and I heard them. You know, I heard the EMTs come.
Okay.
Like I said, that's all. I didn't see them. I just heard them come with the stretchers and wheel them out. And then once I seen the stretchers, I hear it. I can't see anything because I don't want to see it.
Okay.
And so then after I hear the wheeling of the stretchers leave, I got up and I looked and I seen, you know, the whole A team, they call them the A team.
Okay.
You know, they were all out and discussing stuff, and that's when I looked at the clock and the clock said 4:20, like 4.
Okay. And then, was that it? Did you go back to bed after that?
And then, yes,
Okay.
I lay back down. I didn't want to know.
Did you hear anything that they were talking about when the A-team was out there talking? Did you hear what they were saying?
I just heard that, I heard 32 say, you killed him.
Okay.
Which he's been here for a while. He's been here just a long time. I guess he must have been a prisoner and stuff.
Alright, so you heard another inmate yelling, you killed him?
I know, yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know that inmate's voice for fact. I mean, I don't know him personally. I don't know anybody in this pod personally. I'm not a troublemaker. I don't get in trouble. Like I said, I mean, this is...
Alright, I just want to clarify, the subject that the EMS took out of here, you'd never seen him before? You couldn't describe him to me in any way, shape, or form? You didn't see him leaving on the stretcher?
No.
Okay, so there's no way you can give me a physical description of him?
No, I cannot.
Okay, no problem. Alright, you said you heard a whipping noise. Okay. What kind of whipping noise? Had you ever heard this whipping noise before?
I have heard it before.
What does it sound like?
It sounds like a leather belt or a leather. I've seen it before. It's like a leather thing with something at the end of it, and I've seen it happen to somebody that was in the cellmate number 16 before.
Okay, who uses this leather thing?
One of the correction officers.
Okay, and how many times have you seen this leather item? Just one time in the past. Okay.
And it was to whoever was in cell number 16, and that was I don't know. I have stuff written down of things that happened.
It's okay, I can do the research and I'll find out who was in 16 before. I don't want you to have to go through a bunch of paperwork, okay?
No, it's not a bunch of paperwork. It's on one piece of paper.
Was it just one guard that has it, or did you see all the guards?
I mean,
or just one of them, or what?
Just only the night crew does stuff like this.
So they bring, okay, what we're asking is this a tool that if you looked out your window right now, you would see it out there laying out or on one of the guards? Like they carry it around on them?
Maybe, I don't know.
You've never seen them carrying it around, it's just come out when an incident has occurred?
I've seen it one time and that's it. That's the only time I've ever seen it.
When that happened in 16, was something drastic going on in 16?
No, it was a kid and he was like looking like this, like peeking out the window like peekaboo. And then I seen the guy seen the correction officer open the door, whip it at him, close the door again.
Okay. Do you remember which officer that was?
I don't.
Remember what he looked like?
It was one of the night guys.
Did you see
it was only 18 and B team, so it's one of those. I think it was on the B team. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know.
Did you see that leather tool yesterday? Did you see it at all?
No.
Okay, so you just heard what you thought might be that
Might
tool.
be that same tool, right?
Okay. Go ahead.
Was the officer that you seen use it on 16, was he part of the teams that were working last night? Was he involved last night?
No, I don't believe so. I don't think it was Rocco.
Okay. All right, you said that you had heard.
I think that night it was a B team. The night that I seen it happen.
The night that it occurred in 16 was on B team.
It was a B team.
Okay. I'm moving on to the next thing now. When you heard them yell, "Get on your back."
Yeah, he said.
Was he saying anything before that?
No, he was cussing. I think I remember him cussing at the officer, saying, "I fucking can't do it. I can't."
This was before they told him to get on his back, or before you heard them tell him?
No, when he went after, like they said to get on your back, and he said, "I fucking can't. I fucking can't." Like he was maybe getting,
okay.
I don't know. Maybe he was getting held out and he couldn't or something get on his back. I don't know. I know they were trying to get him on his back. That's what I heard.
Okay. But prior to hearing him yelling that, he was banging on the door. He was secure in that pod, as far as you know.
Yes.
So
you know what I mean? But like I've been in this pod, the same pod, for 60 days in a row, and I've heard and seen a lot of bad things go on.
Last night, or this morning rather, when you heard the taser go off, now what did you hear right after that?
I heard him say, "Get on your back," and he said, "I can't. I just got tased. I can't get on my back."
Mm-hmm.
Like in other words, maybe he was getting chopped or something and he couldn't get him on his back. It's the only thing I can think of.
Okay, but
I can't see anything.
Right, but you didn't hear the taser going while he's saying, "I can't get on my back," right? You didn't.
No, I heard the taser go off for about 3 seconds.
Okay, and then again they verbally commanded him to get on his back.
And he said, "I can't."
Okay.
And I heard banging.
That's when the banging started?
Yes.
Okay. All right, how many voices do you think you heard coming from that cell?
3.
3?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One being the inmates?
One being the inmates, and then one being Rocco's, and one being CO's.
Okay. And who's Rocco again?
Rocco is the guy that, I don't know, the other guy,
So he had a roommate?
No. I don't know if he had a roommate or not.
Rocco was one of the corrections officers.
Oh, Rocco is, okay, so 2 corrections officers
and
okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, did the tussling and everything, the noise that you could hear, the thumping, did that stop for a little while? Or did that continue until Miss Patty got here?
That continued until Miss Patty got here. And then Miss Patty says, I remember Miss Patty saying, "Call 911 now. Somebody needs to call 911 now."
Where were they when she said that?
I don't know, because I didn't get up off this. I don't know. I didn't get out of bed. I didn't want to see blood or anything.
Were they next door, or could they have been in another part of the pod?
They could have been out. I think Miss Betty was right here. Or
On the catwalk area?
Or
yeah,
on
the floor?
Or on the floor. Either one, I'm not sure. I know that she was down. I think she was down on the floor. I don't know. To be honest, I could not tell you that.
So you don't know if they moved him out of the cell after you heard the tussling?
Banging and tussling and stuff like that, I have no idea. I did not get up until I heard the EM people were completely out of here because I don't like the side of blood.
Do you think EMS came up to this cell, or do you think EMS did all their stuff downstairs?
I think EMS would have came, I don't know.
You don't know? So you could hear the EMS here, but you don't know
I
whether...
heard the EMS is here.
Okay,
Yes.
but you don't know if they ever went to this cell or if they did everything on the catwalk or lower.
Right,
Okay.
I do not know.
That's fine. That's perfect.
While they were in there wrestling or tussling or whatever it was they were doing, did you hear...
I was hearing a lot of banging against this wall.
Did you hear the guards yelling anything?
I remember the inmate saying, "Why are you doing this to me? Why are you doing this to me?" I remember him saying that. He says, "There's no reason for it. You woke me up out of my bed." That's what I remember the inmate said. "Why are you waking me up out of my bed?"
When did he say that?
That was the first thing. That's the first thing the inmate said. Is, "Why are you waking me up out of my bed?"
But he was just banging on the window.
After, banged on the window and then said that. So, I mean, I don't know. But see, that's what's confusing to me is because I remember him banging on the windows at MedPass. So I'm figuring that he was banging on the windows and that's why they went into his cell, to be honest.
Well, you said what woke you up was him banging on the windows, correct?
Banging is what woke me up. Banging somewhere is what woke me up. And the whipping. I heard the whipping and I'm sorry, I'm just...
Well, here, let me ask you this then, because you know what the doors sound like when they open and close, right?
Yes, I do.
After you woke up, did you hear the door open or close?
I heard the door open.
Okay, so I'm just asking. It sounds like he was banging, and then they came up and went into his
room.
Okay, did it sound like they were in his room when you woke up, or did it sound like...
they were in his room when I woke up.
Okay. Are you certain of that?
Yeah.
How are you certain?
Because I woke up and I remember Rocco's voice. I woke up and I remember banging, whipping, and Rocco's voice, and I never heard CO's voice until I didn't hear CO's voice at all.
Okay.
Did you hear him complain about anything after or during? Did he complain about being hurt or having trouble breathing or anything like that?
I remember he was saying his head was hurting.
Anything else?
No.
Okay.
I remember he said his head was hurting and that he had gotten tased.
When did he say that?
I remember the tasing. I remember hearing the tasing. And it happened for 2 or 3 seconds.
Okay. How long after he said my head hurts or whatever he said about his head till the nurse said to call 911?
I don't know. Within the matter of minutes, I'm going to say 5 to 7 minutes. I remember Nurse Betty saying, I remember her first voice is always, she's the best nurse to me. She's the best one. She always does MedPass all the time. She always checks everybody's blood pressure. She's one of our best nurses that we have. And I remember her coming in, and I remember the first thing she said was call 911. So she must have been on the floor, walked in and seen bad things happening, and she said call 911.
And that was about 7 minutes or so after he said his head hurt.
After I heard banging and she saying my head hurts, I can't get up. I mean, it was big commotions, and it was Rocco's voice the whole time. I did not hear CO's at all.
Well, isn't Rocco a CO? Oh, or you said CO, so is that like the other guy?
He told me to call the other guy because his name's real long, so they tell me I call him CO. I said, well, what do you want me to call him? He says, call me CO. So I call him CO, and then I call the other, and then I just, the only reason why I know the other guy's name Rocco was because of 32. 32 been here probably lots of times. Because he seems like it, I don't know, the guy on 32. And I remember 32 saying, you killed another one, or something.
Earlier you said you never heard CO talk, correct?
I never did.
So how do you know CO was over there?
I don't know CO's over there. All I heard was Rocco.
So you know for sure that Rocco was over there?
Yeah,
and that the inmate that was in there was
Rocco and Mike. The only reason why I say CO is because CO I thought was the only one with the taser.
Okay.
I didn't know if
Okay, so you're assuming that it was CO because you heard the taser.
Taser, right. See, because I don't know if the other guy has a taser or not.
Okay.
Because I know that CO every night when he comes in, he checks his taser. Just like McLean. McLean and CO, they both run, they're the ones that do the checkpoints the best. Like, they're the ones that always, CO and McLean are the two ones that always make sure they do their 15-minute checks. And they look a lot alike. They're skinny and, you know what I mean? Only, I know the difference because I've been here for so long. I know one's 18 and one's 18. Or whatever. But CO is the one that he's the best one. He makes sure that he does those 15-minute checks every 15 minutes no matter what. And if he doesn't do it, if he knows he sets his clock and I can hear it click. He sets it for 15 minutes, every 15 minutes. And if he doesn't do it, then Rhymes does it. Rhymes and CO are like the best people at night.
Okay, but as far as that goes, you never saw Rocco, or I'm sorry, not Rocco. You never saw CO over there.
No.
And you're just assuming that he was over there because of the danger.
Yes.
Okay.
Because that's the only one that I don't know if he has a taser. If Rocco has a taser, because I've never seen him use it.
That's fine. Let me ask you this: is there anything that we haven't asked you that you think we need to know in reference to this investigation?
No.
Okay. Is there anything that you wish to add, change, or delete from your statement?
I don't know. Not that I know of.
Okay. And have we treated you fairly?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go ahead.
I'm confused. I mean, I don't want to be.
No, you're fine.
Producing because I remember getting woke up.
That's fine. I mean, that's all I wanted out of you is what you heard and what you know. Okay.
Yeah, and that's all. No,
Okay.
I did not hear CO's voice at all.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this statement.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I just wanted you to know that I am using this stuff under fair use. And also remember to like and subscribe this channel. Also too, keep in mind I do not make any money on YouTube. This is 5 hours work a day, fighting for freedom. And you can donate with PayPal and Patreon. I just want you to think about this. If everybody gives to PayPal and Patreon, Patreon is every month. Actually, PayPal you can do every month. I have 12,000 subscribers. If everybody gives, I can quit my regular job and go full-time investigations on Charlotte County and possibly even more and beyond. So just keep that in mind. If everybody helps out, I can go full-time doing this. Thanks.